Third step.
He's already cleared off radio, so he doesn't have any radio on. Making sure his emergency handles are in their home. Check his 3-ring attachment, star connector. Checking that his AED is on. Checking that his silver cable is on. Checking that the main pin is full to see that there's no wear on that silver cable. And I'm going to tuck all this bridle back in. Because that's all right. It just sticks up in there. And then I put the protector flap back in place. Make sure the altimeter is 0 with your helmet goggles more or less over there, okay? Choose a touch, show me a nice arch, and do 3 practice touches. See how he's really putting his hand on that handle. And then show me emergency procedures without pulling the handles actually. Lovely. Congratulations. Go get it, man.
Last one.
So level 8. He's all excited. Yeah, he did a bunch yesterday.
Multiple levels.
Oh, yeah. Out here. Well, the thing is, once you get through the first jump class, it doesn't take nearly this long each day to prepare. It takes like half an hour. And then we just all right. If you want to take off the top part of that jumpsuit and just kind of tie it around your waist, we'll call that yours because you've already worn it, used it, got your cooties on it. Right? And then we're going to go next door, we're going to put on a harness and we're going to go through emergency procedures so that when I say certain things require you to do emergency procedures, it'll make more sense to you. Cool? Mm-hmm. So let's go next door. But it's not cold, but it's cold. You know what I mean? It's like, you know.
You can feel it here.
You can feel it, yeah. It's mostly because it's muggy.
Muggy?
Muggy.
Muggy.
Muggy. Yeah, they're muggy. So go ahead and put this on. There we go. Just like a jacket. And then, yeah, I'm going to do bunch straps here. Like these don't have a belly band on them. And experienced steppers, our rigs don't have belly bands on them either. Okay. Go get your pilot chute.
This one's magnetic. Top curl. It's reserve chute. Arch. Yeah. Clench your cheeks, basically. Oh, not me.
That's your fine.
Save me.
Yeah. This is for practice, right?
How come this is magnetic?
Because it is. Don't overthink, Mr. Engineer. Just accept that this is what we're going to practice with. Okay. All right, so show me that nice arch position. Okay, yeah. So do some practice touches, but really put your hand on the handle that's provided there, right? That little plastic handle. It's going to be lower on the actual rig, but that's what it's going to feel like. It's going to feel like that little piece of plastic. Yeah. So that's the point of the practice touches. It's muscle memory. Where is that handle, right?
Okay.
Where is it really? Okay. So emergency procedures. By your decision altitude, can I safely steer and land my parachute? If you cannot, you're going to execute emergency procedures. Okay. There's that. Let me teach you. Okay. Don't get ahead of me. Okay. First thing we want to do is look at the red handle. So we look at the red handle. If this thing's spinning over your head, it's pretty easy to get disoriented. We need to look at where we're going, right? Our eyeballs are our best friend up there when stuff's going on, okay? So we're going to look at the red handle, okay? Then we're going to grab the red handle. You're going to grab it with your right hand, okay? And you can put your left hand on it as a guide, okay? Next thing we're going to do is we're going to look at the silver handle, okay? So we know where we're going next. While we're still looking at the silver handle, okay, we're gonna peel and pull the red handle and let it go.
Peel up.
Peel it from the bottom up and pull it down,
Push
okay?
down. Okay.
So we're still looking at the silver handle,
Looking at
okay? Then we're gonna grab the silver handle, we're gonna put that in there, yeah? And then we're gonna pull the silver handle straight down, yeah. Give it some, right? Do it, well, you practice it like you're gonna do it, right? Now when it's time to cut away your main parachute and deploy your reserve, seriously, you're not gonna do that. Punch that thing out there. Okay, so let's go through it really nice and slow. We have 6 steps to our emergency procedures. You have to write these on the test, and we're going to ask you every airplane ride, and it's going to get drilled into your head, okay? The first step is to look red. Grab red. Look silver. Pull red. Grab silver. Put that thumb through there. There you go. Pull silver. Good. So relax. 3 to 6 seconds. Shapes can float or whatever. You've determined you cannot safely steer and land your parachute by your decision altitude. So look red, grab red, look silver, pull red, grab silver, pull silver. Yeah, once you pull that red handle, go ahead and let it go. Okay, we can go get more handles. All right. They'll just land out in the grass somewhere. And sometimes we find them, and sometimes we don't. So yeah, keep saying the steps out loud with me. So look red, grab red, look silver, pull red, grab silver, pull silver. Lovely. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you do it alone. You say the 6 steps out loud, nice and chill for me. Okay? Okay.
Look red, grab red, look silver, pull red, grab silver, pull.
Lovely.
Silver.
We'll do it a couple more times and make sure you got it, but just like that.
Is there a certain amount of time I should do this in case that happens?
Your adrenaline's going to take care of all of that, right? Even through the skydive, you don't need to think about doing anything fast. You just need to do it nice and smooth and well, right? Your adrenaline is, time's going to go by anyway, so you'll be doing things faster than normal even though you don't think you are. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, one more time, or actually a couple more times.
Look red, grab red, look silver, pull red, grab silver, pull silver.
Yeah. Don't start phoning it in on me though. Really pull those handles, right? Nah. That's not going to cut away your parachute, right?
I'm going to punch it then.
And let it go. Okay, so one more with enthusiasm.
Look red, grab red, look silver, pull red, grab silver.
There you go.
Silver.
Yay! Cool?
I said the wrong words, but I did it right.
Yeah. Just be able to write the words down correctly on the test and then be able to perform them correctly if you need them. Right? Okay, so those are your emergency procedures above 1,000 feet. Okay? If you are experiencing a malfunction or if you're still at 1,000 feet in free fall, okay, especially if you're still in free fall at 1,000 feet, you're going to hit the ground in 5 seconds. Okay? Your main parachute takes 700 to 1,000 feet to open. Your reserve parachute takes 300 feet to open. That's part of the certification process for the reserve parachute. Okay? Which one do you think you're going to want?
Reserve.
Yeah. So your emergency procedure, if you are experiencing a malfunction or if you are still in free fall at or below 1,000 feet, is just to pull the silver handle and get more fabric over your head. Okay? You've already had some bad luck and stuff's already gone wrong for you anyway. You just need more fabric over your head as quickly as possible. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Just making sure. Okay. You can get out of that. And we'll do a little quiz at the end of the class with pictures and scenarios and stuff, but for now, we're good. If you want to help me put the 3-ring on that side, get an idea of how that goes. So it's 1 ring through the big ring, right? Yep. And then the next ring through the medium ring. Yeah. So it should just be 1 through 1. So it flips up.
so.
And then this line goes over the top and through the grommet. And then we'll just put our little cutaway cable through the line. Ta-da! Pretty nifty. Guy who invented that's a millionaire with an awesome house on the lake in Florida. Yeah, it's revolutionary, the three-ring system. Yeah, and that's supposed to be your slider and such. Okay, so let's go back and we'll talk through different things that can happen that you might need to make some decisions on emergency procedures, right? And I'm going to give you a whole lot of information, but ultimately, can I do a satisfactory control check by my decision altitude? If I can't, I'm going to do emergency procedures. So just kind of always keep that in the back of your mind, all right? So when it's pull time, there are some things that can happen we would call pull problems. Okay, let's say you reach back to pull and you can't find the handle. Well, you're probably feeling in the wrong place, right? You find a landmark on your body, your leg, run up to where the handle should be, or you can run your hand along the bottom of the container out to where the handle should be. 2 tries to locate that handle, 4 or 5 seconds. If you can't locate the handle after 2 tries or 5 seconds, you're going to execute emergency procedures. Okay? You reach back to pull, and it's a hard pull. Can't get it out. We're going to return to neutral. We're going to try a second time. 2 tries for a hard pull. If we can't get that out, we're going to execute emergency procedures. Okay? On the first couple levels, this isn't an issue. We're hanging on to you, and if you have a problem, I'm going to pull it for you. You know, I'm not going to just say, tough luck, too bad, right? We're going to pull for you, but even as an experienced skydiver, these are things to remember, right? If I can't find it after 2 tries or 5 seconds, I'm going to do emergency procedures or a hard pull. It's not just student rules. Make sense? The bridle wraps around your wrist. Okay, the reason bridle might wrap around your wrist is because you did not throw the pilot chute and let it go.
The bridle is the piece of string you put in the one.
Yeah, it's that red bridle piece, that webbing, right? That gets wrapped around your arm. It's not opening your parachute, is it? It's just being wrapped around your arm. We're going to give it 2 tries to clear it. Okay? If we cannot clear it after 2 tries, we're going to do emergency procedures, which we may have to do now with one hand. This arm is being incapacitated by a pilot chute being wrapped around it. Okay? But if you always throw the pilot chute and let it go, you shouldn't end up with bridle wrapped around your wrist. Okay? All right, Mr. Mechanical Engineer. So, I'm falling. You're displacing air, right? Tell me about the air over your back.
There's no...
Laminar, turbulent, bouncy, crappy, what would you call
over my
it?
back? Well,
Yeah.
it's going on.
Yeah, so the
nothing
air
there.
immediately over your back.
There's nothing there.
There's nothing there. We'll call it the burble. It's dead air. It's turbulent, bouncy, crappy, not nice fluid air like we have going around the outsides of us, right? If you don't throw your pilot chute away from you and let it go, it can get caught in your burble. Okay? So your pilot chute is dancing around in your burble, not inflating your parachute right now. Okay? Because it's not got air pressure to do that. We would simply look over our shoulder, which changes the attitude of our body so that we can get the air across our back to inflate the pilot chute. But if we always throw the pilot chute away from us and let it go, we shouldn't end up with a pilot chute in our burble. Okay? Every once in a while, at the end of a long day, I do a lazy throw. It's like, okay. And then it clears it really quickly. It's not a super big deal. Okay, we're looking for shape, spin, float. We've looked at these pictures. Now, the first issue or problem, and all of this is in your book, and you're like I said, go ahead and read through this, before you come back for level 2 or whatever, because there's just a lot of good information in here, and we're going to ask all these questions anyway. Problems. I call them nuisances. They're not really problems because they happen. Line twists. The first nuisance that you're going to clear when your parachute opens are line twists. You will get line twists. It's not a big deal. We all get them. They happen. It's just, we're dealing with a little bit of chaos as those lines come out. It doesn't take much to induce line twists, okay? So I have a good shape. Not spinning. I'm floating. Everything's cool. But I have line twists. No big deal, right? What we're going to do is we're going to grab those risers. We're going to spread them apart, and we're going to bicycle kick ourselves out of the line twist. Just like being on a swing set, right? As a kid, you get yourself wound up. Same thing, okay? That one's on the test, because this one does happen pretty regularly. I don't know, maybe 1 out of 30 jumps for me or something, but you will get line twists. So, spread the risers, bicycle kick yourself out. Which way would you want to kick your body in order to get out of these line twists?
I mean this way, so I go this way.
Yeah, right. Easy squeezy. Make sense? And then once you get out of your line twists, you're going to unstir your brakes, you're going to get a control check, and you can find the drop zone and come home. When you reach up to unstow your brakes, remember we talked about this when we were looking at the gear earlier, right? If you reach up to unstow your brakes and one or both of your brakes on your main parachute will not unstow, you're going to do emergency procedures. Okay. If that happens on your reserve parachute, if both brakes are stuck, you're simply going to steer with your rear risers, because you do have a level wing and you can control it. If one brake is stuck, you're going to steer with the working brake. Again, find yourself a clear open place to land, free of obstacles. Right? Facing into the wind, be ready for our parachute landing fall. If you reach up to unstow your brakes and toggle brakes off on your hand, which means you have broken steering lines of some sort. Broken steering lines on your main parachute. Can you steer and land your parachute as intended? Yeah. So what would you do?
Emergency procedure.
Emergency procedure. Yeah. Right? Broken steering lines on your reserve parachute. Right? Can't get rid of that. So I have broken steering lines on the rear part on this half. What can I do with this toggle to get my wing as even as possible? Well, we want to unstow that brake, right? Because it's essentially a half brake. So if I unstow it and release it, it's as good as it's going to get, right? Always think about that level wing. And then we would steer with our rear risers, okay? Like I said, chances of this stuff happening on a reserve, pretty small. But, when you get backed into that corner, and if it does happen, you need to know how to respond. Cool? So we got line twists. We're going to kick out of those. What's that little square piece of fabric called?
Slider.
Slider. Okay, so our slider's supposed to come all the way down the lines. Where's my slider picture? Be right back. My slider picture ran away.
Not too hard.
Seems rather complicated to me, but
I'm not really listening to the words itself. Whenever she's speaking, I'm making a video of it.
I see.
So when that happens,
Yeah.
I can replay the video in my head. Oh, this is what it looks like.
Right.
That's what I'm doing. Like, that's why I keep looking at this, so I can make a little video of that. So if that happens, replay the video.
So, my slider's supposed to be all the way down at the bottom of my lines, right? It's not, right? So this is what we call a slider up. So we need to encourage the slider to come down the lines, right? What we're going to do is we've got our hands on those steering toggles or brakes, whatever. We're going to pump the brakes 3 to 4 times, which will bring the slider down the lines where you're supposed to be. Make sense? Easy enough. This will happen to you at some point as well, probably, maybe. It's not uncommon. It's just a matter of, parachute hasn't pressurized as much as it should to widen enough to push the slider down the lines. So we help it out by pumping the brakes 3 to 4 times. Make sense? Okay. Now there's something else going on in this same picture. Yeah, my end cells haven't fully inflated, right? It's not a big deal. It just means that my parachute hasn't pressurized enough for the end cells to inflate. What we're going to do is I'm going to do a full flare of my parachute. Bring both those toggles down. 3 to 4 seconds. What happens is, right, pulls down the tail, my nose comes up, more air in the front of the nose, it goes out through those little cross ports and inflates my parachute. Okay, so closed in cells, hands and toggles, pulls down smoothly, hold for 3 to 4 seconds. So slide her up, we're pumping the brakes 3 to 4 times. Closed in cells, we're going to do a full flare for 3 to 4 seconds until those end cells inflate. Make sense? Okay. At that point, we're going to check our canopy for damage. We're going to take a look at our parachute, take a look at our suspension lines, make sure everything's groovy. Small hole or tear, something that you can't fit your head through, or one broken suspension line, not a steering line, but a suspension line. We would just simply do that control check, see how it flies, see if I can turn it in each direction, and if I can flare for landing. And if I'm satisfied that I can do that with minor damage, then I'm just going to conservatively steer my parachute and land. Okay, minor damage. Another thing that can happen, which we put in the same category with minor damage, is the pilot chute might go over the leading edge of your parachute, right? It's not really a malfunction, nothing broken or torn, it's just kind of aggravating, really. Aggressive canopy control check, make sure I can steer in each direction and flare for landing. And if you're satisfied that you can do so, do a nice conservative landing pattern and get yourself to the ground. Okay. Major damage. 2 or more broken suspension lines. A large tear that you could fit your head through. A small hole in the bottom skin, but you can see blue sky, which indicates that there's a large tear in the top skin. You're going to do emergency procedures. Okay, so let's take a look at some damage. That's a big tear, right? Yeah. And even if you could do a control check at 4,000 feet, I guarantee that thing's not going to start repairing itself on the flight down, right? It's not going to get better. If anything, it's going to get worse. And then you get behind the rotors off these buildings and bouncy air, especially during the summer from the heat off the ground and everything. You might have had control up there, not so much down here. If you have major damage this much, you're going to do emergency procedures, period. Okay. Make sense? Broken lines. We've got 4 broken lines on this guy. A, you'd never be able to steer this thing, right? You've pretty much lost all your tension on the front quarter of that parachute, right? So I only got 1 line where I'm supposed to have 5. Look at my horizon as well, right? Not so bueno, not a level wing. But this is major damage. This is 2 or more broken suspension lines. Emergency procedures. Cool? So stand up real quick and show me your emergency procedures.
Okay, step 1, look red, grab red, look left, throw, grab with thumb under, pull.
Okay.
Red, silver.
Use the words that we taught you. Okay. So do it again. It's look red.
Look red.
Grab red.
Grab red.
Look silver. Pull red. Grab silver. Pull silver. I would pull with both hands.
Pull.
Okay, so one more time. Look red.
Look red. Grab red.
Look silver. Pull red.
Grab silver.
Pull silver. Good. You gotta write those out. So making up your own words ain't gonna work. You gotta use the words that I taught you. Okay?
Yeah.
Major damage, minor damage. Okay, cool. That's pretty much it for canopy issues, for emergencies with your parachute. Like I said, ultimately, can I safely steer and land my parachute by my decision altitude? If I cannot, I'm going to execute emergency procedures. The end. All right? No reason to overcomplicate it any more than that. Let's do a quick review, and then we'll move on to the canopy portion of the skydive. The landing pattern, finding the airport, landing hazards, all that kind of happy stuff. Cool? Just ready for you. Kind of bad when I know the test by heart now. As we exit the airplane. What's the most important thing you need to do as we exit the airplane?
As we exit, point, arch. Step 2.
If we have an unstable exit.
Arch.
Yeah. So one guy in his logbook, it was so funny, he was doing his coach jumps and he wrote something, if I ever hear relax and arch again, I think I'm gonna get sick. But, well, do it, you know, relax and arch. How long does it take for your main parachute to open?
3 to 6 seconds.
What are your priorities for every skydive, right? So we talked about,
1 through 4.
yeah, so what's the most
Arch.
important thing on every skydive?
Pull.
Pull, alright. Pull when?
Pull at the correct altitude. Then pull stably. And then safe landing.
Yeah, good. All this is in your book, right? So it's really easy to review in between days when you come back. Cool. What are you gonna do if you look up and you have line twists on your parachute? Which is this one.
You're going to grab and spread like a the swing, and then you're going to bicycle kick the opposite direction.
Yeah. So we're gonna spread the risers.
Spread the risers.
And we're gonna bicycle kick out. So once you get out of your line twist or whatever, you reach up and start your brakes. What if you look up and your slider has not come all the way down the line? So your slider is up.
You're gonna pull the brakes 3 to 4 times.
Yeah.
All the way down.
Yeah, or not 3/4. We can just, but the key thing is we're gonna pump the brakes somewhat aggressively 3 to 4 times, and that will bring the slider down. It's the only answer on the test that makes sense out of the multiple choice options you're given, right? But we're gonna pump the brakes 3 to 4 times. Okay. What about closed end cells?
Pump the brakes 3 to 4 times.
Think. It's not the same answer as slider up. Closed end cells. We want to inflate, we want to pressurize those end cells. So what do we do is,
Hold the brakes.
yeah, we're going to do a full flare for 3 to 4 seconds. Yeah? Make sense? We want to get air out into those end cells.
Hold for 3 to 4 seconds.
So we're going to do full flare, 3 to 4 seconds. Cool? Understand? The first 3 things you look for on your parachute once you've waited 3 to 6 seconds for it to open, like our first check for a malfunction. What?
Nice rectangular
Yeah.
shape.
I want a rectangular shape. Awesome. What else?
Slider up, or slider all the way down.
What do we not want it doing?
We don't want slider.
I'm not worried about the slider right now. The first thing was shape, right? What do we not want to be experiencing?
Spinning.
Yeah. So we want no spin.
No spin. They have to be in order, yes.
No, not necessarily in order. You just need to understand we need the rectangular shape. No violent, disorienting spin. How should it feel?
You're floating.
Yeah. Right? So we've slowed down. Cool? What are the 6 steps
Oh.
to your emergency procedures?
1, look red. Number 2, grab red with both hands.
Grab red.
Number 3, look silver. Number 4, pull red firmly. Number 5, grab silver with thumb and hook. Number 6, pull silver hard as hell.
Yeah. Pull silver. Cool. Perfect. What are your 3 important altitudes on this skydive?
6,000, 5,000, 2,500.
What are we doing at each one of those altitudes?
6,000 lock on. 5,000 wave and pull.
Yeah.
And 2,500 decision altitude. Can I safely manage my parachute?
Safely land, yeah. And if you can't, emergency procedures. So like if you got to 2,500 feet and you were still in line twists, or if you still had a stuck brake you had not been able to release, you're still dealing with minor crap that have prohibited you from being able to do a control check. 2,500 feet, it's time to move on, right? We don't need to I can fix it. Yeah, we've lost friends who've gone in trying to fix stuff and they should have made a decision, right? So don't do that. If you're at 5,000 feet in free fall and you're unstable or spinning, what should you do?
Fix the main emergency.
You're gonna pull.
procedures.
No, 5,000 feet in free fall.
Oh, in free fall.
Yeah.
Okay. And you're spinning.
And you're unstable in some way in free fall at 5,000 feet. What are you gonna do?
Pull. That's the
You're
correct
gonna
altitude.
pull. Exactly. That's the correct altitude. How many gear checks you getting today?
3, 2 on the ground, 1 in the one plane.
What if you lose 2 instructors? Robert's alone in free fall.
Pull as quick as you
You're
can.
gonna pull
You have
immediately.
no business up there today by
No
yourself.
business being in free fall by yourself today. Cool. That's about 2/3 of the test.
Okay.
I mean,
Screen's on.
yeah. Oh,
Very
turns
much
off.
bad.
Stupid thing. Oh. So now we're going to talk about landing pattern stuff.
Like an airplane?
Like an airplane. You ever flown an airplane?
I've flown in one once and threw up.
What kind of airplane did you throw up
A
in?
little single engine.
Oh, you'll be fine at that. You'll be fine. These are not nearly as bouncy. Not even close. You'll be fine. Have you ever flown a big plane? Okay.
I got sick on a train once.
Oh, wow. Okay. We're gonna have fun with you.
What crap adrenaline.
Yeah. My only concern is I don't want you getting numbed out because I know what Dramamine does to me. It puts me to sleep, and I don't want you sleepy. I want you aware of what's going on. But, okay, so we already talked about approaching the aircraft from the rear, right? There's little things you can hit your head on. So you're gonna have your helmet on as we get on the airplane, just so we're not banging our head on things. Okay. Here's our drop zone. Very similar to this picture here. So what it looks like, it's kind of cool because we have this nice triangle. It's pretty easy to spot because it's a little unique, right? Our runway. Our runway is essentially north and south, okay? I have this lined up where it is like correct to where we're sitting, oriented to where we are. So this is the north end of the runway, where the trees are, okay? So there's our runway, right? Our tree line, which is at the north end of the runway, okay? Case road. There's a street with cars that can hit you.
Don't land on there.
And there's also power lines that can electrocute you. So neither one of those are very nice things to have happen. So we would want to avoid flying perpendicular to Case Road at a low altitude in order to not end up on the road or in power lines. Makes sense, okay? But you're going to have to identify all this stuff on a map on the test. So Case Road is this guy, plus the fact that there are power lines along Case Road. Makes sense? The canal. It's a canal, and it's got probably about an 8 to 10 foot berm around it, right? You know, there's no water in there. You're not going to drown in it or anything, but it's definitely not the most level, ideal place in which to land, right? So let's just be aware of it. But those are the things, the runway, Case Road, and the canal that border our drop zone area, okay? Buildings, right? All the buildings we're in, the parking lot, the ultralight park, not good places to land, right? That is not an area clear of hazards and obstacles. We want to find a nice open area in which to land our parachute. The hangar, where all the airplanes are, don't land there. Experienced landing area, you got to have a B license and at least 100 jumps before we let you start landing in the grass. Swoop pond doesn't exist anymore, but be able to locate or identify the center of the triangle. Center of the triangle. Makes sense, it's the center of the triangle. Boom! There is your student landing area. That circle right there in the south field. Okay. So once you've gotten open under your parachute, you've done your control check, find the drop zone, start flying into the triangle. I mean, we might open up over here, we might open up over here, we might open up on the west side of the runway. Get into the triangle. Let's start, you know, getting within the confines of where we want to land. We need to cross the runway above 1,000 feet under our parachute. So if for some reason you find yourself over here and you're at 800 feet, you're going to land over here. We're not going to cross the runway below 1,000 feet because there's airplanes landing there. If you open on the west side of the runway, let's not monkey around going north and south. Let's get into the triangle, and then we can figure out where we're going to land. All right, we got a huge area. If we can't make it here, we can make it there. We can make it there. We've got a lot of options. You're pulling high enough, and we check the spot before we get out that we can put you in that south field. Okay. Let's go outside and take a look at some stuff. Where the runway is, we know where Case Road is, we know where the canal is, we know where the hangar is. But we need to look for other skydivers in our airspace. We need to look for the wind direction, right? Because ideally we want to be facing into the wind when we land to reduce our ground speed, so we can have a nice stand-up landing. Right now, the wind is very light out of the south, very light. Okay, so we might land facing toward the south right now. When it's light and variable here, or if there's no wind, our default landing direction is to the north. Okay, that's our rule here at Perris Valley, just because the winds change around here all the time, or they can be dead or light and variable. Right now, they're slightly out of the south, so I would pick landing towards the south. Make sense? Cool. Let's go back in and we'll talk about what parachutes for. Doing all right? Temple Grandin. It's Claire Danes, and it's about Temple Grandin. The woman, she's autistic. And she developed this really humane way to house this daughter, so that they wouldn't panic and such. But the way her brain works in that movie is it's just a big filing system of pictures, and she's got this amazing photographic memory. It's a lovely movie. If you have a chance to see it. Temple Grandin.
Temple what?
Grandin, Grandin, and it's Claire Danes. Yeah, it's a fascinating movie about how she's overcome autism to be really, to do some amazing stuff. And about that, yeah, I'm a visual learner too. You can tell it to me all day, but if I read it myself, and especially if I rewrite it myself, I'll remember. That's how I got through college. I had to rewrite stuff, and then I remembered it. Weird. I think that's probably why we're mechanical types, right? Because visually you see it, and it's like, well, that makes sense. Yeah, right? You know, I may not be able to explain it to you, but I can see it, and it just makes sense. So that's cool. So, okay, we've opened up our parachutes. I need to tell you about one more malfunction. I'm sorry, I forgot this one. Horseshoe malfunction. Horseshoe. There you are. Oh no. You got your rig on your back. Your pilot chute is still on the bottom of the container, right? But for some reason your pin has gotten pulled and you're experiencing like an out of sequence deployment. So here's your risers, here's your lines, here's your parachute, and its deployment bag and that bridle going down to your pilot chute, okay? The reason this would happen is I'm not doing a good gear check, right? We're checking all that stuff is in place so that the parachute doesn't come out until I want it to come out. Make sense? So the first thing I'd want to do if I have an out of sequence deployment, pull a pilot chute. Let's see if I can get it in sequence, right? How many tries do you think you should give that?
2.
2, magic number. And if you can't, do emergency procedures. It's called a horseshoe malfunction because of the horseshoe type shape that's formed over your back by all of this mess. Even if you do clear it by getting the pilot chute out there, be ready for emergency procedures because remember that dead burble air above your back? This could have got bounced around and twisted up, and who knows what might have happened up there.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, let's do good gear checks, especially that third one in the plane, and make sure everything is where it's supposed to be until I decide that it needs to open. And you should be able to prevent that one. But you need to know what to do in case it happens. Okay. So we've done our canopy assessment, shape, spin, float. We've dealt with our minor problems, our line twists, our slider up, our closed-end cells. We take a good look, make sure, check for damage. And we're going to do a control check. And our minimum decision altitude is 2,500 feet. Now, like I said, if you know you've got a malfunction at 4,000 feet, you don't have to wait until 2,500 feet. But that's just when you need to make a decision. And usually it's minor stuff at that point. So wind, right? Our parachute with us under it, whatever your body weight is, and depending on the design of the parachute and such, is going to have a certain airspeed. Let's just say it's 16 miles an hour just for fun. Now understand you're kind of driving an ice cream truck today. I've got like a Miata. I don't even have a Ferrari yet, but I'm comfortable with it, right? But I've got a pretty zippy canopy, about half the size of what you're going to jump. So I'm going faster. So when you see some of these people out here landing, don't get all like, you won't be coming in that fast. But if you were to land downwind, so you've got an airspeed of 16, you got a wind speed of 14, 14 is the maximum allowable wind for students, your ground speed's 30 miles an hour. It's going to be an interesting landing for you, right? NFL linebackers don't run that fast, except for maybe 2 seconds at a time. Nobody runs that fast. So ideally we want to face into the wind when we're landing. But let's, like the winds were light and variable out there, right now. They shift around here often. So once you're committed on your final, even if the winds shift around on you, I'd rather see you land downwind or crosswind than do a low turn near the ground to chase getting into the wind. You can do a parachute landing fall, dust yourself off, and you'll be fine. Doing low turns near the ground can be not bueno. Yeah, right? So ideally we want to face into the wind, right? So if I've got that same 14-mile-an-hour wind and I'm facing into it now, my ground speed's only 2 miles an hour. It's going to be a lot easier to stand up that landing. But again, winds around here constantly change. We're not going to make radical turns to get into the wind. Sometimes downwind or crosswind is preferable depending on where you are in your pattern. And we're going to talk you through this on your first 4 jumps. You have radios. So we help you with that. Because it's weird. Winds are always changing. Things always change. So it's kind of the more fuzzy logic of this. I can't give you hard and fast rules that are going to work every single time for your canopy stuff. Make sense? So as we're flying back to the drop zone, we're going to look for those flags to determine our wind direction. If somebody's kicking up dust on the ground, that can be an indicator of wind direction. Other people's landings, not reliable, right? They are people, but it's an indication, especially people landing in the grass. That's usually a good indicator of which way you should land. Your speed over the ground, right? If you're flying downwind or with the wind, you're going to be boogieing across the ground. You turn around, you're facing into the wind, your progress across the ground is slower. So use your eyeballs. Your eyeballs are a good friend in this whole sport. Really. Even like the competitive stuff I do. Yeah, we can't talk to each other, but we can see each other. We can see how we're feeling. We can, you know, that's our tool, even now. So, let's say our wind is out of the north. And when winds are light and variable or non-existent here, we assume that they're out of the north. Okay. So we're going to want to land facing toward the north. We're going to go to what we call our holding area. It used to be the swoop pond. Now we're going to set up a little more over the center of the triangle. Okay, but you're going to go to your holding area, and once you get there, play around. You know, turn your parachute. Play around with what it does. Realize, though, your parachute's still flying forward. So you're going to have to do some turns and maneuvering in order to stay in your holding area, right? You don't just get there and, whoo, just start all of a sudden
Fall straight.
come straight down, right? You're still gliding. So it's going to take some doing to stay in your holding area. You're going to stay in your holding area until 1,000 feet, okay? At 1,000 feet, we begin the landing pattern portion of our skydive. And it's the same as what they do in aircraft. Now, once you get to 1,000 feet and you've begun the landing pattern portion of your skydive, we're not going to do any more radical maneuvers. Keyword is radical maneuvers when you take the test, okay? We're not going to do any radical maneuvers, no spirals, no stalling the parachute below 1,000 feet. Because at that point, I'm doing the landing pattern portion of my skydive. Make sense? Okay. So we're going to leave our holding area at 1,000 feet and fly with the wind, or what we call downwind, or some people call it running with the wind, right? Until approximately 500 feet. We're going to turn our crosswind, right? Let's cross the wind until 250 feet. 250 feet, we turn on to final. Now, once you're below 250 feet on final, no major turns. Okay, it's no radical turns below 1,000 feet. There's no major turns, nothing more than a 90, unless it is an emergency when you're below 250 feet. And by emergency, you're about to fly into the side of a building or something, right? We don't want to be doing any big turns below 250 feet because we're getting close to the ground, right? And I'm on final, okay? At that point, I would be telling you you're on final. Get your hands all the way up. We want maximum speed, forward speed out of that parachute. Feet and knees together. You know, prepare for your PLF, and then I would start saying not yet, flare, flare, flare. You want to flare your parachute when your eyeballs are approximately 10 to 12 feet above the ground. That's hard to determine at this point because you haven't done any skydives yet. Plus the ground is all brown, so if you get a little tunnel vision on one piece of ground, you start losing your depth of perception of what's going on. So what I recommend is you can scan a little bit. There's nothing that says you can't turn your head and look around a little bit. I still do it, you know, landing in the grass. I kind of look as I'm coming into, you know, where my feet level is to where the flags are. You know, there's references if you kind of scan. Make sense? Yeah, but we don't want to get such tunnel vision or target fixation that we lose our depth perception. But we're going to help you with the whole flaring landing thing for the first few skydives. Cool? If you flare too high, and by too high I mean like if you flared at 25 feet above the ground or something like that, what do you think is going to happen if you completely let off those toggles?
You're going to speed up and hit the ground.
You're going to dive, yeah. And you're going to do a feet, knees, face landing, which is going to hurt, okay? If you flare too high, let up the toggles no higher than your chest strap, and then flare again at the correct altitude and be ready for what we're going to practice out there, parachute landing fall. Make sense? Okay. If you flare just a tiny bit too high, like 1 foot too high, just hold on to it, right? Makes sense? And we don't have to go flare. It's more of a flare, 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 and flare it all the way to those nice straight arms. And then hopefully we'll just step out of landing and everything will be groovy, right? But always be prepared for the parachute landing fall. So here's what this would look like. Little parachute dude's in his holding area. So at 1,000 feet, he's going to start flying downwind. 500, he's going to turn his base leg. 250, I'm turning final. Flare, flare, flare. And use your eyeballs, you know. Look down over the ground and see what it's supposed to look like. That's why we have all these stands and pictures. So, what about if the wind's out of the south? So I still want to land here, right? But now my wind is out of the south. So which direction do I want to face for landing?
Go this way and come around and then...
Perfect. So our holding area would be over the canal, downwind, base, final. Notice our landing pattern never puts us flying over the runway, right? Because we do not fly over the runway at an altitude below 1,000 feet. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, easy. Take that off there quickly or it stains it, and then they get mad at me. So, landing direction, there's our holding area till 1,000 feet. Then we do our downwind. Base, final, flare 10 to 12 feet above the ground, facing into the wind. And this is what it looks like over the ground. Yeah? Makes sense? So, this talks all about the cone of opportunities. I mean, as you get lower to the ground, you start committing yourself more and more to the place where you're going to land, right? When we're higher up, we've got more choices. As I get lower, not so many choices. So, I'll play a little game. This is a fun game. So let's say I'm here over the ground. I've given my parachute 3 to 6 seconds to open. Shape, spin, float. Cool. I kicked out of my line twist. My slider's down. My insoles are open. I've done my control check. And that trash can over there in the corner is my holding area. 4,000 feet, so I start flying over to my holding area. Right? I'm looking at my position over the ground. I check my altitude and I'm at 3,000 feet. Wow, I'm making really good progress to my holding area, right? I will get there by 1,000 feet, and I'll actually have time to spare and mess around and do my landing pattern as planned, right? Well, what if I open up and I get all my stuff sorted out, do my control check, find my holding area, 4,000 feet, and I start flying back, and I check my altitude, I'm at 3,000 feet, and I've only made this much progress. And now I'm at 2,000 feet. And I'm not even halfway back yet. Am I going to make it to my holding area by 1,000 feet? I'm not, right? So I need to start figuring out an alternate place to land. Again, probably not such an issue as a student, but more so when you start jumping on your own. I've landed over here before, I've landed over here before, I've landed over here before. Sometimes it just happens. You get a bad spot, you don't make it back. It happens. But we need to use good judgment on deciding where to land ourselves safely if we can't make it to where we want to land, right? So here we are. I opened up north of Case Road. I want to get down here to do my landing pattern for the south circle, but I'm realizing, wow, I just crossed Case Road and I am not making it there. Real easy. Simply going to pick up that landing pattern, put it where I can make it, like perhaps over in the north field, and then I'll go land in the north field instead. Doesn't have to be any more dramatic than that. Make sense? Landing hazards. Here's my list of landing hazards. Okay. Power lines. Power lines we have, right? Those are real here. Don't fly perpendicular at low altitudes over Case Road. You won't hit power lines, right? I would rather see you, like if you get caught in a corner near Case Road, fly parallel with it. I'd rather see you flying downwind or crosswind, but parallel with Case Road, and do a PLF and dust yourself off than to see you trapped in power lines, right? They're nasty. But, you know, what if you opened up over residential Perris, because we had an aircraft emergency, and there's lots of roads and there's lots of power lines. You know, sometimes weird stuff happens, right? So ultimately we want to avoid them. But if we do end up in power lines, the most important thing is not to complete a circuit with ourselves, okay? We're not going to touch a second power line, right? I'm not going to try to get down, because if I get to the ground and my parachute's still draped over that power line, I've just grounded and completed the circuit with me, right? I'm not going to allow anybody to touch me, to try to help me, unless they are from Edison Power Company and they've turned off the power in the grid and they say it's safe to get down. Okay. So the key thing of that is do not complete the circuit with you. Okay. But ultimately, let's avoid it, and let's make the assumption that all roads and streets have power lines. Make sense? Okay. But really, those are our only ones. If you hit them out here, that's just bad planning. Yeah. Trees. These are our only trees, so don't hit them, right? You have no business being flying over right anyway. That's crazy, right? Especially low altitude, right over here. But let's say you decide to go out to Florida or somewhere on the East Coast where a lot of the drop zones are surrounded by a lot of trees, and you get a bad spot and you're going to land out, and you've got no choice but to land in trees. Okay. The important thing is we got to protect our core. Okay, pokey branches and stuff, femoral artery, you rupture that thing 10 minutes, you bleed out, you're dead. You know, we want to protect all our vital organs and our veins and stuff. So we would still want to face into the wind as best as we can remember, based on, you know, what we know from where we took off or whatever. We flare to about halfway, protect our face, okay? We're going to crunch all of this in, right, to avoid those branches, and even if we can get a little bit of a turn, hit with a hip instead of full square on with our body. Once all the chaos has stopped and we've either fallen through to the ground or we're suspended in a tree, you know, we're going to deal with that. But if we're suspended in the tree, we're going to stay put. Don't cut away and try to get yourself down. Wait for help. If you've landed off in a tree, people know. They'll send an airplane, circle around, they'll find you, and they'll send people out to come help you. But don't try getting out on your own and causing yourself more damage. Just wait. Okay. Water. We don't have any drownable water here. If you decide to go to do beach jumps somewhere, or you're landing, you know, you're near a lake or something like that. If you're going to do intentional jumps near a body of water, wear flotation gear. It's actually required by USPA, but some people blow that off. But don't be that guy, right? It's a simple little belt with a little inflatable cartridge in it. Doesn't take up that much space. And if you do end up in the water, it could save your life, right? So if you're going to land in water, facing into the wind as best as we can remember, remove our chest strap, because we're going to get out of the gear once we hit the water. It's difficult to tell depth perception with water because it's all one color and such. If you flare to about halfway, be ready for that parachute landing fall, because we don't know how deep the water is. Also, right? We have no idea what's under there. Take a breath. Once you're in the water, if the canopy lands on your head, you dive down, get to the other side of the parachute. Or, I don't know if you noticed, all the seams in the canopy go front to back. That's our short waist. So we could grab a seam on the canopy, run our hands along it, push it off of ourselves, and get out. If there's a safe place to swim to, abandon your gear and swim to safety. If there's nothing in sight, you can use your gear to float on for a certain amount of time. It's holding a little bit of air, right? Like I said, if you're going to intentionally jump near bodies of water, flotation gear can make the difference. Before you get your B license, you have to do water training. They actually put a harness on you, throw you in the swimming pool, throw a canopy over on top of you, and you got to get out of it. Yeah. Buildings, don't hit them, right? But what if we ended up opening up over downtown Perris, and you know, I'm negotiating all the hazards around me as best I can. Is it better to land smack into the side of a building, or maybe do a little bit of a turn and graze off the side of a building? Yeah, we want to do that. A little bit of a turn and graze off the side of the building. Be ready for that parachute landing fall. Ideally, we're not landing near buildings. Landing on the roof of a building. Again, not ideal, but we're going to flare. We're going to be ready for that parachute landing fall. Once we are safely on top of the building, we're going to cut away the main parachute so that it does not drag us off the building. Okay? Dust devils. Dust devils are real here. You're from around here, right? Yeah. So you've seen dust devils, right? Yeah. Really don't want to fly my parachute into those. That's terrible air. And sometimes they can be as small and as deceptive as that, or they can be big. These are from here. These are real ones we took pictures of. Stay away from them, okay? They travel with the wind, so stay upwind of them if you can. If you need to land way out here to avoid dust devils over here, lovely, right? What's priority number 4? Land safely, right? Land safely doesn't mean land close to where you don't have to walk very far. Land safely means land safely, right? You can land safely over here, you can land safely over here. If it's to avoid an obstacle, dust devil, whatever, right? Get to the ground safely. Indicators of dust devils, like sometimes when they're over grass, you can't see them, but you might see 2 of the wind flags violently in opposite directions near each other. That's not normal, right? Or if you see garbage blowing up in the air, stuff that should be on the ground that you can see flying around in the air near you, that's not normal, right? If you feel some bounciness going on, you might want to move out of it, right? If you see stuff. As it gets hotter in the summer months, you'll notice that if you start flying over the hangar, it's bouncier just because there's weird air coming up off all that metal. Sometimes it's a little bouncy over the canal because of the difference in terrain. Just different air coming off of that. You start noticing those things, right? Not a big deal. So the big thing with dust devils, stay away from them as best you can. What else? What else? What else? So those are all the landing hazards. Let's go outside because it sounds like there's a plane to jump on it. Maybe we can watch some parachutes land. We're almost done. I know, right?
Yay! Whoa!
You're doing very well. Catching on very quickly.
Say about the wind right now. Yeah, it's coming out of the south. We always describe it from the direction it's coming from. So yeah, it's coming from the south. So which way would I want to face for landing right now? Yeah, so where would I set up my holding area? Yeah, kind of over there by the canal. Yeah, beauty. So it sounds like they're under there. Should see parachutes coming out soon. Now we'll kind of watch and see what they do. Now hopefully they do it well. And they set a good example for us. You never know, right? All the way up. And about 10 to 12 feet above the ground. Square, square, square. See? Make sense? Cool. One side. Go through a couple more things. I've taught you everything, and if you discover something on the test that we need to review, that's fine. I'm not trying to fail you.
go ahead and get my harness, but we're going to leave it attached to the wall this time. And we're going to go through some scenarios of what if. And you're going to, why don't you pull up the jumpsuit there so we can actually get the leg straps around you. There we go. It's way too tight. Okay, so and what I want you to do, so put this in here. I want you to show me that nice neutral body position we've been talking about all day. We're at 6,000 feet. What do you do at 6,000 feet? Okay. 5-5, I want you to wave, reach, and really pull that pilot chute and throw it, and almost try to hit the wall with it. Perfect. And you're going to count 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000. 5, 1,000, 6, 1,000. So after 6 seconds, if you look up and you see that, what are you going to do?
It's emergency procedures.
So show me.
Look red.
Good. Right. This is not the shape you want, and you are not floating. Right? Initial assessment for malfunctions. Lovely. Okay, so back into free fall. Here we go. So you're at 6,000 feet. You're locked on to that altimeter. 5,500 feet. You're going to wave, reach, and pull. 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000, 5, 1,000. What's going on there? Take a look
The
at it.
wingtips are.
No, take a look at it. Really take a look at it.
Oh, and the slider, and you're twisted.
It's line twist. What
It's
do we do
line
with
twist.
line twist?
Grab, you spread. Grab, you
Yeah.
spread. And then you bicycle kick whatever way that's opposite.
Yeah, perfect. Right?
Uh-huh.
Easy. And like I said, so much of it will make more sense when you actually jump out of a plane. Okay, so show me that nice neutral body position again. We're at 6,000 feet. 5,500, you're going to wave, reach, and pull. 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4.
1,000. The slider's not correct.
Oh no, slider's fine. Something else is going on.
Oh, this is.
Yeah, our pilot shoots over the leading edge. So what would we want to do?
It's fine.
But how do we know it's fine?
Make sure you have a nice rectangular shape.
Control check.
Good. Oh, control check.
So go ahead and grab those toggles that are right there and show me a control check. So what are we doing in a control check?
You're going to go to the right.
Yeah, we're going to look right and we're pull that sucker down. Really turn it. There you go. Oh, careful. There's a weight on there. But yeah, really. Okay, and we're going to have our hands in the toggles the whole time, both toggles. Okay, so we've done a right turn. Okay, now we're going to do a left turn. Yeah, there we go. Watching for traffic. Yeah, back up. Now we're going to do a full flare. That's our control check. Okay, that's good. Everything's groovy. Now we're going to find our drop zone and go home. Okay? Okay, so back to your neutral body position. You're at 6,000 feet. You're locked on. 5,500. Wave, reach, and pull. 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000, 5.
Your shoot's all screwed up.
Yep, so what are you going to
You're
do?
twisted, first of all.
Is that the shape you want?
That's not the shape you want. Slider's not down, nothing.
Nothing. So what are you
Emergency
going to
procedures.
do? Do it.
Okay, so I'm gonna look red, grab red, hold silver, or look silver, pull, grab, pull.
Good.
Both hands up each.
Yeah. And we repeat this because it's muscle memory, right? I touch my handles on every skydive. I've been doing this 21 years, and I practice my emergency procedures in the airplane every skydive. Guess what happened when I had my last malfunction 3 months ago? I did exactly what you do. Yeah, look, grab it. I mean, I just went, whoop, it took over. Why? Because of practice every skydive. Malfunctions don't happen often, so you want to be ready. Make sense? Okay, go back into free fall for me. I've got one more. 6,000 feet, 5,500 feet. Wave, reach, and pull. 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000. What are you going to do?
Control check.
Control check, yeah. So show me that one more time. Yeah. Looking for traffic.
80 degrees, watching the weight.
You're watching the weight, looking for our friends.
Full flare.
Full flare.
Way down.
Find our drop zone and let's go home. Awesome. Okay, so you can get out of that. And then just unhook those little dealy-doos. There are a couple things that could happen where you could end up with 2 parachutes over your head, both your main and your reserve. Well, what if you're below 1,000 feet with a malfunctioning main parachute and you go straight to your silver handle, which is what we taught you to do, right? You just intentionally put a second parachute over your head. Just unclip it. Oh, there you go. But what if you pulled at a low altitude and your Cypress fired at the same time as your main deployed? Boom. You might end up with 2 parachutes, right? So there's a couple scenarios of what can happen with 2 parachutes. This is called a biplane, one parachute in front of the other. Could be either the reserve in front or the main in front. You never know. Okay. The way we're going to steer this, and we're going to land 2 parachutes. Okay. You're going to steer with the rear risers of the forward parachute. It's like pulling a trailer. I'm going to drive the car and let the trailer get dragged behind me. Okay. Conservatively. This is unusual, so be very conservative. Find yourself a clear open place to land, face yourself into the wind. There is no need to flare, just be ready for that parachute landing fall. Besides, you've got over 500 square foot of parachute over your head, you'll be coming down really slowly. Side by side. Again, we're not going to cut away, we're going to keep both parachutes. We're going to steer with the outer rear riser. So, right rear riser of the right parachute, left rear riser of the left parachute. Leaving our brakes stowed. Unless we've unstowed the brakes of one parachute, then unstow the brakes of both, right? Again, conservative, fly, be ready for that PLF. If these start spreading apart, okay, if they start spreading apart, we could be going into what we call a downplane situation. Okay, once they spread more than a canopy width apart, and you're not suspended directly underneath them, they're going to go path of least resistance, which is facing straight to the ground. Are you going to land safely if both your parachutes are facing straight toward the ground and you're in the middle? No. So if you go into a downplane situation, you're going to do emergency procedures, which gets rid of that main parachute. You'll land safely under your reserve. Make sense? I think that's everything. Do you remember your hand signals? What is this?
Pull. Relax. Spread your legs out.
Extend your legs?
Extend your legs. Bend your legs. That's pull your knees.
Knees closer?
Knees closer.
Yeah.
That's your arms out. Bring your arms in. That's belly.
Arch. Or
yeah.
hips down.
Arch.
Right? What if I stick out my tongue?
It's 2 things at once.
It's
arch and
extend your legs.
Extend your
The
legs.
2 most common corrections we get. What if I shake you?
Look over.
Look at
Try
me.
to get your attention.
Hey! Yeah.
Circle awareness. That's your 3 practice. Pulls. 3 practice.
Cool. You know it. I'm going to take the test and I'm going to go skydive. It's on the ground boring, right?
Yeah.
I'll be right back. Do you have any questions at all? I mean, you seem to be catching on and, you know. Right. Let's go skydive, right?
Nothing to it, right? What could possibly happen?
Yeah, no worries. Should be fun.
Oh yeah. He can't wait.
I know.
So first thing, I'm gonna get down like this. I'm gonna check in. Alright. Check in. Okay. I'm gonna out, in, out. As soon as I do that, I'm gonna arch. Right? 1 1000, 2 1000, 3 1000, 4 1000. I'm gonna look at her. She's gonna give me the thumbs up. I'm ready. Look at her. She's gonna give me the thumbs up. Okay. Then I'm gonna do my safety checks. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Then every 5 seconds, I'm gonna look at my altimeter until 6,000. 6,000, I lock on. 5,500, I wave. 5,000, hold. Bam. And then I'm gonna go. The wind's coming from. It's going that way. So my holding area is gonna be over here. I'm gonna fly around here till about 1,000. I'm gonna come here till 500, 250, down. I'm gonna land. Safely landing. That's if nothing goes wrong.
What could possibly happen?
Well, you gotta give me a scenario. Give me something. What went wrong?
The main chute doesn't open.
It doesn't open, period?
Period.
So you mean like when I pull it, it does nothing happen?
Exactly.
I'm gonna do 1, nope, didn't work. Pull it harder. 2, nope, nothing happened. And I'm gonna execute emergency procedures. Step 1, look red, look red, grab red, both hands, look silver, pull red, grab silver, thumb in, pull silver. Bam.
Alright. I've already tested your radios. They're good to go.
Here's your rig. So it's a red and black parachute. We've already turned on your AAD, your altimeter, your helmet goggles there. So I just need to write myself a love note on here. What parachute you have. I'll play your mother and I'll dress you for the future. Stop that again. Start dressing yourself. For now. So reach back behind and lift up behind you. With those hands, yeah, just lift it up. Just move your stuff out of the way so that I don't catch it. You know what I'm saying? Having even leg straps, amazingly enough, contributes to on heading openings and sitting straight in our harness so that our parachute flies in a straight line. Make sense? So stand up. Now, go ahead, reach back and lift up that container one more time. I need to adjust these laterals. So, adjustable for different people. So. Body. You want to go ahead and route the chest strap correctly, just a friction adapter. And we don't need to do that tight yet. What I do is I leave it intentionally loose, and I leave your zipper down as a reminder to me that I have not yet turned on your radios. I don't turn these on until about 10,000 feet. There's no reason to run down the batteries. We don't need them until you're under parachute anyway. So let those sit there. Maybe one more yank here. Feel okay? Stand straight up. Can you arch? Can you push your hips forward comfortably? Maybe in the pink hand. Try again. How's that feel? Better. Yeah, I mean, chances are you're all under the leg straps unless you can straddle splits or something crazy. Yeah, have wide splits. Should turn on you, you mean? Too tight. That's good. Turn on your bit. Want to make sure that that's set at 0. Close door at 0. Your helmet and goggles. These are the same ones you used this morning, right? Okay. So I want you to just hold that in one hand, and then I'm going to do your first gear check. Okay. So I'm checking that your leg straps are snug, your buckles are clear, belly bands are routed correctly, and the excess is stowed away. Your chest strap is routed correctly, but left intentionally loose. So I remember to do your radios. Emergency handles are fully in their pockets. 3 rings are put together correctly. Cover cables in place. Arm cylinders attached. Your cypress is on. Reserve cable goes nice and smooth through the reserve pin, fully suited with a rigor seal intact. Main pin's fully suited, minimal wear on the closing loop. Bridle is routed correctly. Main handle is accessible. 3 rings routed correctly. Cover cable in place. Now you're testing your radios. You're going to bubbles. You're set at 0. So go ahead and show me that nice arch. Get that chin up. Really think about pushing those hips out. And do some practice touches. Get a feel for where it really is. There you go. It's almost a straight arm, right? So let me show you. I'm going to have your harness right here. So if you do this, you're going to hit my arm. So think about sweeping it around behind the midline of your back. Okay? You're going to get that left arm over your head. There you go. Right? You're comfortable with where that's located now? So you kind of think about where that landmark is in your body of where that's located. Okay. Now, without pulling the handles, but do touch the handles, talk me through the 6 steps of your emergency procedure.
Book clamp, grab book hands, pull silver, pull wood, grab something.
Yeah, and you can really touch the handles, just don't have to.
Yeah, still got different.
Go for it. So, look red, grab red. Look silver. Red, grab silver. Let's we'll do a second gear check. Ready to play the altitude game? Yay, it's my favorite. I always win. So, at those 3 important altitudes, I want you to get my attention, right? I want you to be checking on your altitude as we're climbing. So when we get to 2,500 feet, I want you to be like, hey, Chris, we're at 2,500 feet. This is why that's important, and you're going to tell me why. We're going to review your emergency. We're going to review your hand signals. 5,000 feet, you're going to get my attention, and you're going to tell me why that's important. I'll ask you a couple more questions. 6,000 feet, you're going to get my attention another time and tell me why that's important. We're going to review the whole skydive normally. We're going to do your 3rd gear check, get your radios on. I'll ask you a couple more critical questions before we get ready to go skydive. I'll ask you to get ready to go skydive. And then we're going to do an awesome level 1. Yay! Woo! Woo! Hang on to that one. And then Paul's doing the
We used to stay a month. How long are you guys in for?
2 weeks, just over.
Okay. How's it going, man? I'm Paul. Good. Nice to meet you, alright? You sit over here for me.
Steve has already checked the spot. He's outside. So I'm going to motion for you to take your position in the door. Feel on your knees. Take that breath. Calm yourself down. Wing out. Arch. Slowly. Good. Check with Steve. Good. So let's say it's 10,000. So look at me. Shout 10,000. Okay. What's next?
Go back.
There's one. Good. Good. Nice and high. Lovely. How high are we? Tell me. Okay.
8,000.
And check again. Tell me it's 6,200.
6,000.
No, tell me it's 6,000. What do you do at 6,000 feet?
Walk on.
There you
Walk
go.
on. 6,000. Okay.
5,500.
Walk on. 5,500. Wave.
There you go.
Cool. I'm gonna grab mine. Backs. Make sure everything's good.
So just relax. Just gonna tighten a little bit.
Yeah.
It looked like he was having a tough time perching before.
Yeah,
With
that's
how
the
tight
problem.
they were.
A little bit of slack when I grab it.
Okay. Oh, good.
You may have that body size that just doesn't quite match the adjustment on the harness.
The in between you.
Yeah.
It's easier in free fall than it is on the ground.
Yep. Down here on the ground, you have to support your own body weight and weight of that harness. In free fall, you don't.
Cool. If you forget something, just look at me with a look, and I'll remind you. And you know, if you need it, you'll do it. Does that happen? That was much better.
Does that shoot heavy?
Yeah, I try to get as close as you.
I'd say maybe 20 pounds.
No, well, that's not that bad.
A little more than that.
Yeah.
It feels like a backpack full of
For
books,
him.
basically.
Oh, okay.
Doing good, Robert. Hands all the way up, feet and knees together. Yeah, hands all the way up. All the way up. Straighten your arms. Put your hands all the way up. There you go. Lovely. Not yet. Not yet. Not yet. Not yet. Not yet. Not yet. Flare, flare, flare. Okay, hold it. Hold it. PLS. Ah, wow. Awesome.
Perfect. Everything went according to plan.
Well, of course it did. We prayed and everything happened. So
That was cool.
what was the best part?
It wasn't the jump itself. It was me getting over. Whenever I fall like that, I always have that gut feeling. After about a second, it went away. And I was like, wow, this is cool. And I was like, okay, it was just like we did in the classroom.
Okay. So would you do it again?
Yeah, of course.
Cool.
There's the meat of bad divers.
Any other observations about this whole deal? What's the rating?
I remembered everything, every little bit.
That's great.
At first I looked up, I was like, oh no, what do I do, emergency? And then I was like, oh, 3 to 6 seconds, right? I looked up after about the first second, like, uh-oh. And then another 2 or 3, I was like, uh-oh, it still isn't deployed. Crap, what do I do, which one? I was like, do I gotta ditch it and get the reserve? No, it unfolded the rest of the way. Took a full 6 seconds, but it unfolded.
One final interview.
Was he talking to me at all? Someone's voice is coming over real faint, like a man's voice.
Sometimes we get interference from drive-throughs
So I was like, I
and
can't
radio
hear you.
stations.
Whoever was talking to me.
Oh. Okay, so drop your parachute right there. We're back up this direction. We're going to talk in the motor and talk to you while we're getting out of your gear.
Yeah, buddy, what's up? How did you like it? Yeah? Having another day with it? We'll just try it once, right? Alright, well, congratulations on the first Skydive. We'll see you again for level 2, right? And we'll see you soon. Woo! Woo!
Alright. So,
Smile, big guys. Thumbs up.
First couple seconds, that was what I thought was the scariest. I know when I fall like that, I clutch up, but after the 2 or 3 seconds of that, it's like, oh, it's like, oh, things like I'm good. Turn, 5, thumbs up.
and then at that point, I did give you some guard corrections after the practice. Do you know what I did?
Oh, of course.
Yeah, and you can do better when you just relax. But you really only relax
Congratulations, Rob. You did real good for your first time. Where's your...
relax the heart a little bit and see my out. Pretty standard stuff for a first skydive. We did a nice job of locking on. You waved and pulled at the correct altitude. With assistance, we did a nice pattern and a standard landing. Yahoo! Right? This is your first jump paraphernalia. So like if you go to Square One today, you can get 20% off any clothing item. Before you do that though, please fill out our comment card, right? Yeah, all that kind of stuff. But if there's things we can improve on, tell us that as well. But then you drop this off over at the wind tunnel where we were this morning, and you get a free t-shirt from them.
Free t-shirt that one at all?
Yeah, cool. It's just your I jumped t-shirt. What's next? So you've done level 1, okay? Level 2 is very similar to Skydive. The only thing is after you do your practice touches, we have the component of forward movement. We achieve forward movement by extending our legs and bringing our arms back, which increases the drag on the rear part of our body, decreases the drag in the front, and you pitch up and go through the sky. Pretty cool. We do that, forward movement for 6 seconds. If we have time to do it a second time, we do forward movement for 4 seconds. You walk on at 6,000 feet, you land for 5. So it's a very similar skydiving. You can go onto our website under the school and you can watch all the videos of the different skydives in your AFF progression. So you can come prepared, right? There's different packages you can get if after you've done a couple jumps you decide you didn't want to go for it and get your A license and all that kind of stuff. They've got some different packages. Please note though the packages are non-refundable, non-transferable. They have to be used by you. Okay. To stay current, come back within 30 days to make your second jump. Actually, if you can come back tomorrow to make your second jump, right? The sooner the better as far as your learning retention and stuff like that. It's expensive, but if we can keep things going early on in the process, your learning will benefit from that. Make sense?
Yes.
If you ever start having an issue or you're struggling with a level, we have what we call jump insurance. You can purchase 10 minutes of coach tunnel time with one of the instructors from the school, and we work on whatever it is that you're struggling with in the sky. Then you pay for your next skydive. If you do not pass that skydive, you get the repeat for free. That's why we call it jump insurance. Okay. You can use it once during your AFF progression. A lot of students find it helpful. The kid that just did his level 8, he did jump insurance on Tuesday, and once he got himself straightened out, he just banged through everything else. Right. Sometimes we need a little help. Referral, bring friends and family, get 10% off your next skydive within the next 60 days for every first-time jumper you bring. When do you think you're going to do level 2?
Money.
But
it's expensive.
yeah, it is. The level 2 is $239.
Yeah.
It doesn't require a whole day. It requires going through those harness room questions and then preparing level 2, and we go do it. So you've done the heavy lifting by sitting through the first jump course.
Cool.
It doesn't take as long on the ground in the future. So come back soon. Thank you. And your certificate and all that stuff should be printing up in the video trailer.
Wow. What an eye-opener. Not skydiving itself, the way she taught.
Yeah.
That's how I learned. There's a skydiver, you see him?